I suppose I should begin by telling you I wasn't always the kind of woman who did what I did on that fateful night. From the outside, if anyone looked at my life, it seemed I had it all. A devoted husband, no, who truly adored me. A cozy suburban home with a well maintained yard and comfortable furniture, and a stable job in a corporate office that more than paid the bills. Our marriage wasn't perfect. No marriage is, but we cared for each other deeply, or so I believed each night, before drifting off to sleep. My corporate Christmas party that year was a grand affair, the type of event that makes you forget you're just another cog in a huge machine. It was held at an upscale hotel downtown with a magnificent Christmas tree that soared to the ceiling. Twinkling lights cast a soft golden glow across the crowd of my celebrating coworkers. Glasses clinked constantly amid the mixture of laughter and holiday music. I arrived alone because Noah, my husband, didn't feel like attending another boring corporate function, as he called it. I didn't argue. It was easier to let him stay home. So I found myself stepping into the ballroom, wearing a little black dress I hadn't worn in ages and a pair of red heels that made me feel, well, alive in a way I hadn't felt lately. Part of me insisted I dressed up so I'd fit in with the elegance of the party, but deep down I realized I wanted to feel desired again, even for just one night. That was when I saw Gavin, my supervisor. He was standing by the bar, talking to a group of coworkers with animated gestures, his tall, broad-shouldered frame easy to notice. Gavin was the sort of man who attracted attention without trying. A tailored suit, crisp white shirt, unbuttoned just enough to suggest confidence, and an aura of self-assurance that seemed to follow him wherever he went. I'd always tried to keep a respectable distance. After all, he was my boss, and I was a married woman who prided herself on loyalty. Our eyes met across the room, and for a moment it was as if the noise of the party dimmed. He flashed a slow, knowing smile that sent a ripple of excitement through me. Embarrassed by the flutter in my chest, I quickly broke eye contact, my cheeks already warming. But inside, my heart started racing. No matter how I tried to ignore him, my mind kept drifting back to that moment. I spent much of the evening making polite small talk and nursing a glass of wine, but Gavin seemed determined to catch my attention. Eventually, we ended up at the dessert table at the same time. He leaned casually against it, greeting me with a smooth, low voice. "You look lovely tonight." I gave a nervous laugh, dismissing the compliment with a wave of my hand, but the way he held my gaze made my stomach flip. "Dance with me," he said, offering his hand. Part of me screamed that I should say no, but the rest of me, hungry for something I couldn't name, lead me onto the dance floor. When his hand settled at my waist, a jolt of electricity shot through me. We moved to the upbeat music, his presence commanding my full attention. Between the swirl of holiday tunes and the hush that seemed to fall around us, I forgot the world. I couldn't recall the last time I'd felt so vital, so present. As the pace of the music slowed, so did our dancing. The crowd around us blurred, leaving only Gavin's intense gaze. "Let's get some air," he murmured. My heart thudded as I let him guide me to a hotel balcony. The city lights sparkled in the December air, but I hardly noticed. All I could sense was Gavin's nearness, the quiet hush of our breathing. He turned toward me, and for a moment everything else faded. He brushed a strand of hair from my face, and I felt an undeniable spark. Then came the moment of no return. He leaned in, and I let him. My breath caught as our lips touched, tender at first, then hotter, more desperate. In that instant, I let go of the life I'd carefully built, forgetting I had a husband waiting for me at home. After that night, nothing was the same. I convinced myself it was just a fleeting indiscretion, that we wouldn't let it escalate. Yet the attraction between us proved too strong. At work, we'd find ways to bump into each other, contriving reasons to have private discussions in his office. His texts popped up at odd hours, and I found my heart fluttering with each message. When we were together, even for a few minutes, the tension was electric. Guilt gnawed at me, but the allure, this new sense of excitement, overpowered it again and again. Noel, meanwhile, sensed nothing. Or at least he never showed suspicion. Every morning he'd pack his briefcase for his engineering job, kiss me goodbye, and remind me not to overwork myself. The gentleness in his eyes only magnified my guilt. Still, I told myself I deserved some piece of happiness I wasn't getting at home. My rational mind screamed it was wrong, but I dismissed that voice as outdated morality. Our illusions of secrecy continued for weeks. We'd meet in Gavin's car, behind the building, or at quiet lunch spots far from the usual crowd. Each new kiss ignited a bigger flame, and in those stolen moments I felt more alive than I had in years. Yet every time dread followed the high, I'd close my eyes at night next to Noah and question how I had become this person. 3. Rumors and guilt. I soon noticed a coworker, Harriet, giving me those odd looks, half amused, half judgmental. She always seemed to turn up when Gavin and I got too close or to overhear some snippet of conversation. I chalked it up to paranoia until Harriet cornered me one day at the coffee machine. "You seem to be spending a lot of time in the boss's office," she said with a pointed arch of her brow. I tried to laugh it off, but the icy dread in my stomach told me the rumor mill had begun. From there, everything spiraled. People around the office whispered when I passed. Harriet dropped hints about office romances. Even Gavin began to sense we were under more scrutiny. "She won't talk," he reassured me. "She's not the type to cause a scandal." I wanted to believe him, but something about Harriet's sly grin told me otherwise. At home, Noah began noticing changes in my routine. "You're working a lot of late nights," he commented, half joking. "Everything okay?" My forced smiles and excuses only went so far. The difference between him and Gavin was stark. Gavin set me on fire, but it was Noah's calm presence that reminded me of the stability I was risking. Some nights I was racked with guilt, but I couldn't bring myself to end the affair, locked in a pattern of adrenaline and shame. It was inevitable that the precarious balance would topple. One evening, after staying late with Gavin yet again, we got too comfortable. A coworker, Harriet, or someone else must have spotted us alone in a dark hallway, maybe saw us kissing. Because that very night, Noel confronted me at home. I walked in, expecting him to be asleep, but he was waiting, arms folded, face grim. He turned his phone toward me. "I got a message," he said flatly, "about you and your boss." His voice cracked. "Is it true?" The color drained from my face. I tried to speak, to deny, to do anything, but the heartbreak in his eyes told me he already knew. So I confessed. Haltingly, tears streaming down my cheeks, I admitted I had been seeing Gavin, that it started at the Christmas party. I pleaded that I never meant to fall so deep, that it was just a mistake. Noah's face hardened. "A mistake," he repeated bitterly. "Mistakes are forgetting to pay a bill or dropping a plate, not betraying your spouse." I reached for his hand, but he pulled away. "Don't," he muttered. "Don't touch me." Then he stormed out, slamming the door behind him. Alone in the silent apartment, I collapsed onto the couch, tears unstoppable, realizing I might have just destroyed my marriage. The next day, I couldn't concentrate at work. Harriet's triumphant eyes told me the rumor was well out in the open. I tried to talk to Gavin about the predicament. He suggested we ride out the scandal, but I felt no relief. Noel refused to return my calls. By that evening, the weight of shame was suffocating. I typed out a resignation letter. I couldn't stay in the same office that had become my downfall. Gavin argued it was an overreaction, but I was done. That environment, those stares, Harriet's smirks, and the memory of how close I'd come to everything, I simply couldn't do it. That night, Noel came by to pick up some of his belongings. He refused to speak beyond the practical. "Where's my suitcase? Where's the deposit slip?" Anger smoldered behind his eyes. I tried to apologize again, but he cut me off, quietly saying, "There's nothing left to say." Days passed in a blur. I no longer had a job to distract me. I spent hours texting, calling, emailing Noah, begging for a chance to talk. At last, he agreed to meet in a small cafe. My heart pounded as I spotted him at a corner table, eyes rimmed with exhaustion. He didn't stand up to greet me, just nodded. I sat, hands clasped, voice shaky. I ended it. I quit my job too. I paused, trying to read his expression. "I want to fix us." He exhaled, shaking his head. "Fix us? You think it's that simple? You think me losing faith in you is something that can be undone with a conversation and your tears?" My tears welled up, unstoppable. "I know it's not simple, but I'll do anything. Therapy, time, counseling, whatever you need. I love you," and he gave a bitter laugh. "Love? The time to show love was before you kissed him, snuck around with him, lied to me." His eyes watered, fury replaced by sorrow. "I just can't believe you betray me like this." We sat in quiet misery. Ultimately, he left the table, muttering that he needed more time, that he was too hurt to decide on the spot. I sank back, tears burning my cheeks, aware that the cafe patrons were politely looking away from my meltdown. Noah spent a few more nights away. He came by occasionally for his things, but refused to talk about reconciliation. I tried to show him my remorse, offered to move out so he could keep the apartment. Anything. Like he insisted on an official break. We're done. He finally said, voice flat, eyes empty. I can't pretend to trust you. This marriage is over. We filed for divorce. It wasn't drawn out because we had no children and relatively straightforward finances. My ring sat heavily on my finger, a constant reminder of vows I'd broken. On the day I signed the final documents, my hands shook. I stared at my name and realized I'd thrown away the stability of my marriage for fleeting passion and illusions. When it was final, Noel moved out for good. I stayed in the apartment for a short time, but soon realized I couldn't bear the memories. I ended up relocating to a smaller place in the outskirts of the city using what severance pay I had to tide me over until I found a new job. Gavin reached out once or twice, offering sympathy and even saying we could try a real relationship. But I wanted none of it. The entire memory felt contaminated. I parted ways with him, ignoring his calls. As rumors around the office where I no longer worked soared, I realized he'd fared no better, facing HR investigations about a romance with a subordinate. Now I live on my own, uncertain about my future, but resolute not to repeat the same mistakes. Therapy has helped me see how hollow in my marriage, a longing for excitement led me astray, how I failed to communicate with Noah, letting boredom fester. None of that absolves me. I own my betrayal. Noah, from what I hear, is doing all right. He might be dating. I can't blame him for finding someone who won't break his trust. We don't speak, except for formalities if something needs addressing. The silence is both deserved and agonizing. Sometimes I replay how it all began at that Christmas party, the random stroke of fate that had me slow dancing with a man who was all wrong for me, but who awakened a part of me that I'd ignored. The cost was my marriage, my sense of self-worth, and my once stable life. If there's a lesson, it's that no relationship can thrive on illusions or routine alone. If something is missing, ignoring it can lead to destructive paths. Had I addressed my discontent with Noah earlier, perhaps we'd have found a healthier solution, or parted ways with honesty rather than betrayal. But regrets can't turn back time. All I can do is face tomorrow, carrying the knowledge of how easily one can lose everything for a brief, intoxicating dream. The memory of that Christmas party still stings, reminding me that in a single moment, one hush, stolen dance, you can step across a line that forever changes your life.